all, I just started with first class, and in this first class, I gave a very broad introduction. Now, after giving that broad introduction, what I want to begin with is that look, we are looking at the fundamentals of investment. And when we say fundamentals of investments, so there are different investment types. Let me broadly mention that of these, one is real asset, and let's say other is a financial asset. Now, in financial, real could be anything which is not financial. We can put it this way also. But let's just say about financial. Let's say the financial assets, we use the term equity as one example. And we use another example as security. Is there any difference between equity and security? So this is one question which will come to us. Okay. So one is we are looking at the type of investment. And then within that type, we are also talking of some subtype of investment. But whatever the type of investment, there are certain concerns or certain objectives that is there in our mind, which we are considering while which an investor is considering while an investor is doing an investment. So while considering that investment, okay, so definitely investor is having some important concerns, and of these important concerns, what could possibly come to your mind? Yes, what could possibly come to your mind? What will be the concerns of the investor while making an investment? Let me also mention that look, if we draw these terminologies from economics, so we are saying something which we are not consuming, but saving it away for future. So in that sense, it is an investment, right? A saving is not necessarily investment, because if you keep it at home and you don't invest somewhere, maybe you're not earning returns until unless you convert it into, let's say, gold. You buy a house. Let's say sometimes you buy a car, and you find, well, it's a good investment, although car is a consumption item. But I've seen people, during the times when Maruti was introduced in India for the first time, sometime in 1984. So people bought their first small car for 1,25,000 rupees. I think that was the price at which it was available. And after a few years, when they had used it for a few years, and then they sold it for a price in the second-hand market, which was much higher than 1,25,000 rupees. In that sense, it turned out to be a good investment. I mean, of course, it happens with gold all the time. It happens with the housing property all the time. It happens with commercial property all the time, or most of the time, let me put it. So we are not necessarily saying that saving is investment, but definitely when you deploy it for returns, so it is an investment. Okay, so coming back to the question, what are your concerns as an investor when you are investing your savings? Anybody would like to respond?
Sir, risk factor.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Sir, risk factor.
Uh, can you write it in your chat box? Your voice is not clear to me. At least not to me. I don't know about others.
Sir, he's saying risk factor.
Surbi also said, but I don't know. I'm not getting. There is some problem with the. See, unmute the mic, give a little pause, and then speak. Yes, Shubhaming saying risk factor. No, what do you mean by risk factor? What do you keep in mind? That it shouldn't be risky, it shouldn't be very risky. What do you mean by risk? Can you be a little more simple, layman like in speaking your term before we get into the technicalities?
So,
See,
there might be the hopes for the greater payoff in the future that what was originally put in.
no, there is some problem. I don't know. Is a problem with my system or is a problem with somebody who is speaking? The voice is not clear. Somebody else should speak because initially when Shubham said hello, good morning, it was okay. But now when Sanjana is speaking or who else, even Shubham was speaking, probably it wasn't working well. Yes. Surabhi, I'm not getting what you said. Anybody else? Prerna?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prerna, your voice is clear. Yes, tell me. Okay, Prerna is, maybe yet to think of an answer. Okay. Anybody else? Rishika?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Rishika, your voice is clear. Yeah, tell me. Okay, so maybe some of you are trying to say. I'm assuming that you are trying to say what I'm saying. Well, your concern is, I would say, to begin with the safety of your money, safety of the money that you're investing, right? You want to make sure that you don't lose your capital itself. So, in a way, it does talk of risk factor, right? It does talk of risk factor. But yes, you are concerned with the safety of the capital, safety of the money that you are investing. And keeping that in mind, keeping the kind of risk or the quantum of risk that you are undertaking, then you want to maximize your returns, right? You want to take as much return as you could probably optimize. Is there any other concern that one can think of besides the safety and maximizing return? So, wealth maximization function that one is undertaking as an investor. Is there anything else that one can talk of? See, like one of the other important concern would be liquidity. Liquidity means that you have the money available when you need it. That could be one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at liquidity is that even if it arises, even if there arises a contingency, you are in a position to liquidate the investment faster, right? So if you have an investment of a kind where you can liquidate the investment faster, that means the liquidity index is higher. If you have an investment of a kind which can be liquidated but cannot be liquidated fast enough, that means the liquidity index is lower. So that partly depends on the type of investment, but it also depends upon the maturity of the market. How mature is the market? Let's say housing market. If housing market is very, very mature, possibly you could sell your housing property also faster. But if housing market is not mature, selling a house would be a challenge. When you suddenly need money and all your money is in a investment like a house property, you may find, or a commercial property, you may find, well, liquidating is a challenge. And in such a situation, if you undertake a distress sale, you undertake a sale of your property at whatever price you get, that means you may lose a good amount of possible returns that you could have got, because you are forced to sell because you have a liquidity requirement and market is not mature and somebody is exploiting that opportunity. Okay, am I getting across? Am I able to convey, the important concerns? So I'm not saying these are the only three concerns which investor has. There could be something more one can add. Can you add something more? Right, we talked of three. Yes, Prerna.
So concerns regarding the economy, that the economy itself might go down due to, for example, the pandemic.
Right, but that will get reflected in the expected returns.
Yes, and inflation rates, perhaps.
That will, see, those are the concerns. Those are the concerns which will, get reflected in your investment. So you will look at these. Yes, in a way, inflation one can say, provided you find that your investment is such where inflation is higher compared to the other opportunities where inflation is lower, or your investment is such where inflation is not neutralized by the rising prices of your investment. Yes, so inflation could possibly be, one such factor, but we are, reflecting that in the sense of risk factor, right? So risk we are incorporating into that. So we talked of risk, we talked of returns, we talked of safety, and we also talked of liquidity. Now my question is, can there be something more? Right, if you're talking of the state of the economy, if you're talking of the inflation, those are the factors which are weighing on either returns or on risk, right? If economy is doing good, so these are weighing on, giving good returns to your investment. If the economy is becoming inflationary, these are weighing on, because much of your investment will be, neutralized because of the inflation factor. So in that sense, those are somewhere incorporated, but in the analysis, yes, you can further analyze them. So now my question is, besides these four, can we think of some other factor?
So what about tax?
Yes, tax is there. So now taxation is something which will again be, like looking at risk versus returns,
Yes, sir.
right? You're still looking at risk versus returns uh, because this is with reference to your investment. Let's say you have put your investment in pharmaceutical industry, or let's say you have put your investment in a, let's say, green energy. Right now government is giving, a lot of promotion to investment in green energy, and let's say somehow, huge investment comes into green energy, and green energy start giving, huge returns to the companies which are getting into solar energy and other non-conventional energy. And then government realizes, well, we also have to run the economy, so let us start charging tax on these green energy, solar energy, non-conventional energy industries. So in a way, it is weighing on your returns. But yes, it is an important, like state of the economy, like inflation, like taxation. These are important factors which will weigh on your returns in the sense of safety of capital, in the sense of returns, in the sense of risk, right? And maybe, I don't know how do I relate with liquidity. Maybe, possibly, yes. But then, is there something which is still left out? Okay, let me give you a hint. Let's say what you have available in the economy for investment is only a ship, right? And the person who is manufacturing ship is expecting you to put your investment either in the entire ship or you don't have a choice, right? So you will find, well, a ship cost about 2000 crore rupees, 3000 crore rupees. So somebody who has that much of amount can only invest into that. And therefore the the denomination of investment required is also an important concern when you are making investment. See, let's say, I mean, I have given a very extreme example, but let's not take a very extreme example. Let's say we want to talk of fixed deposits, and let's say the bank says you can do big fixed deposit only if you make a minimum fixed deposit of 5 lakh rupees. So those who are having 4 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees, 1 lakh rupees, 50,000 rupees will not be able to make investment. Let's say you have a share in a market. Now, I don't want to name that share right now because maybe this will lead to slight digression of the point that I'm discussing. So the denomination of investment required, the minimum denomination of investment required, is also an important aspect of investment. Because if the denomination of investment required is high, it has a purchase problem as well as it has a sale problem. While purchasing, you find that you have to, gather a good amount of money before you can invest. While selling, you need to find out a buyer who may have that much of money. So from both the point of view, it has a problem. So when from both the point of view it has a problem, it also weighs on liquidity, right? If the denomination is big, then liquidity becomes also an issue. Why? Because you need more money to invest and you need a buyer who has that much of money to buy when you want to sell, right? So these are various kinds of factors which you keep in mind. So coming back to, like I was saying, that investment could be of various kinds, and of these various kinds, then I started talking of, let's say, financial, and within the financial I used two important terms, equity and security, right? And you will find these terms which are, now I would say that an equity may be a security, right? An equity may be a security, or let me put it, an equity may be a security which is of equity type, but not necessarily. So from these characteristics, we can say that there is an equity which is not a security, right? There could be equity. So I'm using the word equity for a share capital. So as you know now from your knowledge, that companies have their share capital divided into smaller denominations, which they call it as equity share. So these smaller denominations help various sizes of investors with various sizes of investment amount with them to be able to invest in the companies. Okay, so what we are doing in this subject is we are talking of fundamentals of investment, and as I mentioned that in the fundamentals of investment, before we can understand the fundamentals, we need information. And because we need information, so what we are doing is we are using the security as our basis of analysis, right? We could use housing property market, we could use other commercial property market, but then we will find that the information about purchase and sale, daily listing, at what price, which kind of house is available or which kind of commercial property is available may not be available. And we find, well, our analysis will all become theoretical. And so we are focusing on security. And I'm, like I'm saying equity, which is a security. So you could have a private limited company, the condition for which is that it's a company whose shares are not available for public to invest. So it's something in which every investor cannot go. Or you have a public limited company whose shares are not listed in a stock exchange. Like all the companies in the country, let's say if you're talking of Indian economy, all the companies of the country are not traded on the stock exchange. So we are now moving from a financial asset of a kind which could be equity or debenture or bond to a kind which is also a security. Equity, which is a security, a bond, which is a security, or a debenture, which is a security. That means we are ensuring that it is of small denomination. It is a small denomination and is traded regularly. And since I am talking of security, I am just mentioning it because I have already mentioned in a different sense, but I am saying it is financial asset. Okay. So these are the three important characteristics. Okay. These are the three important characteristics which we attach to a security. So I'm not saying that a bond cannot be a security, or a debenture cannot be a security, or a mutual fund cannot be security. All these can be security, or a derivative cannot be a security. All these can be a security. But then to become a security, a financial asset to become a security, we are attaching these three essential characteristics: small denomination, traded regularly, and it's a financial asset. Of course, equity is a financial asset, bond is a financial asset, and all others that I've mentioned, whether it is mutual fund or derivatives, we will explain each one of these gradually as to what these are. If many of us are not familiar, I'm sure many of you are already familiar with these terms. So these are three important characteristics that we are looking at of a financial asset to understand the fundamentals. We are not saying that if you are owning a equity of a private limited company, you should not be going into the fundamentals. You should not be analyzing your the kind of investment, the quality of investment that you have undertaken. Yes, you should be. If you are putting your money in a housing property or putting your money in a commercial property, I'm not saying that you should not be analyzing the fundamentals. You should be. But then the analysis becomes more complex, more difficult, more challenging. So before we get into that, we are understanding fundamentals. To understand fundamentals, we need information. And because we need information, so we are focusing on security. Am I conveying myself? Am I conveying myself? Am I audible? Am I understandable? Yeah, I wish you to respond before I move forward.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So with this understanding, let us say I'm talking of a share which is listed in a security market, which is listed in a secondary security market, right? A market where it is traded and where it is bought and sold. And I'm taking a hypothetical example that let's say it was invested at the end of 2011, right? I've written it as the heading, year-end share price. I'm taking just one share. I'm keeping in mind one share. It is a hypothetical share. I'm not naming any particular share. When you look at the stock exchange data, you may find, there could be many shares which might have been available at 150 rupees in the year 2011. It could be any of these shares, right? I'm not naming a particular share. We'll come to that part. So in 2011, at the end of year 2011, that share was bought for 150 rupees. By the end of 2012, it became 100. By the end of 2013, it became 120 and then 200 and 240. And I have not taken the remaining data so far. Okay, we'll come to that data. Now, see, let me also look at the exchange. So let's say this is my screen? Is my screen showing BSE data is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So see, let's say I want to find out my share price of this company. I don't know whether this company was listed in 2011, but I can check. So, December. Okay, so luckily 31st December is Friday, right? And assuming that it was not a holiday, on 31st December there might have been a trade. Okay, and let's say I list it till 2016. Again, let's say December. I'm taking this Vardhaman. I don't know whether it was listed. We'll just find out this information from this checking. So for 2016, somehow 31st December is a Saturday. So expectedly Saturday markets are generally not open. So let's take 30th. So that would mean year end of 2016. Yes, I think it was list. No. Well, it was not listed in 2012, but it was listed sometime in 2012, right? In 11, it was not listed. Otherwise, it would have given the data. Since it is not giving the data, now I have, lost. So the point that I was making was, I again have to do that exercise. Is that right? Have you understood? Like I looked at, so if I go back, if you're not sure, if I go back to not 2011, but say I go back to 2008 and I say 31st January and then I say up to today 22 and 7 January and I say so it lists me all the data. Okay, 2000, no, maybe it was listed. I don't know. That time it was not coming, but now we are getting this data. Maybe there was something wrong in my search. So in 2009, 10, 11, right? So the price was there. So one can find out, and there's a lot of data which is available with the BSE, NSE of the past records, right? So you're taking actually when you say the year end data, that means you're taking the last trading day data. If the last trading day happens to be 31st December, then 31st December or 30th December or 29th December, whatever is the last trading day. That's what we are taking here. Okay. I thought I should, practically connect with that. And let's say this is how the share price of that particular share, which I am calling it as share Y, is moving over the next 4 years. So by the year 2012, if I take annual return, so I'm calculating my annual return, right? So this is how is my screen. Let me just magnify the screen. Yes, I think now it is better. So I'm getting 33 minus 33% returns in 1 year. For the next year, I'm getting 20% returns, right? For the next year, I'm getting So this is how I am using my formula. Right? Is that formula okay? I am saying current year end price minus last year end price divided by last year end price multiplied by 100 to get the percentage. Okay, so that's how I'm getting 4 different, because my investment is for 4 years from 2011 to 2015. So I'm getting these annual returns. Let me move to the next sheet. Okay, these are my annual returns that I'm getting. Look at this sheet. What this sheet is saying. This sheet is saying that starting from the time of investment, that is year 0 to year 14. Let's say every year I am getting 10% annual return. Okay. Every year I am getting 10% annual return. I don't know whether this figure is right. This figure, yes. Okay, yeah, this figure has some sense. I'll explain that. So every year, except year 5, where the return is 70%. I don't know why I brought in. Let me, yeah, there was a purpose. Let me change it to 1 year, 1% to begin with. Let's say 1%. Sorry, not 1%, 10%. Now, look at the impact on the price. If I start with an investment of 100 rupees in a share, by the year 14, that investment, given 10% return every year on my previous amount, will become about 380 rupees. Okay, 380 rupees, which is like 280% increase. 280% increase on my original investment. Now, if any particular year gives me higher return, like I was taking the example of 70% return. So let's say my second year return is not 10%, but 70%. So because I get my earliest of the returns, not earliest, but like very early of the returns, I get 70%. My overall returns increases to like 480% extra, 487% extra. But instead of in second year getting 70%, so this is like, basically we are talking of some calculations, some simple calculations. And I make it, let's say, this as 70%. Then also, does it remain same or? This calculation is on this, so this is 70% of this. See, what is it that we are getting? If I say this as 70% and this as, oh yeah, okay, I didn't check it that time, right? If I take my earlier investment, that is in the second year, if my returns are 70%, then my overall returns become 800% extra. No. Let me just correct this. Then possibly, yes. Sorry. So in either case, it remains same. Right? If you look at the overall returns, in either case, it remains same. It doesn't make much of a difference, right? Is that point understood? Like, let me put it. Let's say this is not 70%, but let's say this is 80%. Okay, and instead of this being 80%, let's say this is 10%, but this one is 80%. How much we are getting with 10%? We are getting the 280% increase. And if I make this as 80%, what was the earlier scenario? In the earlier scenario, if I make it this as, I think we're running short of time for today. We have to finish this part, and this I make it as 80%. So it doesn't affect much. And without going into the calculation, because that I'm showing in the next sheet, look at this. These two calculations, arithmetic mean and geometric mean. Right? Arithmetic mean and the geometric mean. So in the arithmetic mean, my average returns become 23% with this change, and my geometric mean, it becomes 22%. Right? So over a longer period, the point that we are making is that over a longer period, arithmetic mean and geometric mean do not have much of a difference. That's what the point which is coming out of this. There is a difference, but not much of it. Because in arithmetic mean, it does affect in a particular way. But if you look at the geometric mean, somehow it moderates that effect more. Let me just take this one more illustration. I think is this, no, not this one. This one is talking about geometric. Just a second. Okay, maybe this idea of geometric and arithmetic, I'll take it up maybe again and then explain with another example. So this is how these two important, arithmetic mean and geometric mean. Let's just move on to the next sheet, because there is another important aspect that I want to cover in today's class. And look at this example, which is built on, somewhat similarly with the previous example, except with a change of information about additional information about dividend. And you know that in the financial management paper, you were talking of, various theories of dividend and its impact on price. And we had theories which talked of dividend having an impact on price, and theories of theories where dividend did not have impact on price. So that's how, we were talking of. So now in this particular case, we are not focusing on the impact on price. We are focusing on how do we calculate returns. And here the column E is explaining returns just based on the share price, year-end share price. Okay, and I've taken, like increasing price in all the cases, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 100. Okay, no, there is a decrease also. There is a decrease also. 180 is there. So we are looking at returns without dividend, and then we are looking at returns with dividend. So you find that the calculation remains by and large simple. Like you can look at one particular formula. Here we are saying dividend plus the difference in price divided by the base year price multiplied by 100. So that's how we are calculating the returns. So we just want to firstly understand how there are various types of returns, and then when we are making a comparison, so we are taking into account a particular way of calculating returns. Because if we take different ways of calculating returns in this same example, then we need to understand its implication. Let me see, in this remaining 8 minutes, can I talk of this next example? So look at this next example. this next example is again talking of selling price, share price, not selling price, share price, dividend, capital gains. Okay, so this capital gains is nothing but the difference in the share price over a year, right? This is how it is reflected. And then, like, so this is like a comprehensive example constructed. And this particular one is dividend plus capital gains. So that's like the total returns that you're getting. So you're talking of 24 in this particular example, you're talking of 24 rupees as returns. And this 24 rupees is a return on 100 rupees. So that's how we are getting 24%. Likewise, in the next example, you have a 5 rupees dividend. You have increase in the share price to the tune of 12 rupees. But then this increase in this dividend amount is now in a way a return on an investment of 118 rupees. Why? Because now your share price has become by the year 2009 as 118. So this 17 rupees increase is over 118. And even if I had taken not 17, but let us say if I make it just for the time being, let's say I make it, how much is it? 130. So let's say I make it 138. Yes. So if I say the price of the share in 2010 is 138, my total returns becomes 25, not 24. But my percentage returns are still lower. Why? Because it's on a higher amount of investment, because in the year 2009, my investment is 118, not 100. So when you are building it up on 100, this 24 rupees is giving you a 24% return. But in the next year, this 25 rupees is on an investment of 118, and therefore the return is about 21.18%. So that's how, you have to look at the returns in absolute terms and in percentage terms. And when you are making a comparison, somewhere you do look at the ratios, and therefore you have to look at it in percentage terms. Okay, I'll just revert this example because there are other things that I would like to be saying. So I think I stop here, and maybe if you have some questions in the next 5 minutes, or you have anything, you can ask me, and then we will stop. Right, so I said quite a few things today in terms of how information is coming, and how information is actually the real information, and how our calculations therefore are realistic. But although there is still a very important limitation of all this information. Can somebody point out that limitation? A very important limitation. If you are taking an investment decision today, all this information is information of the past. So in a way, based on the past, you are calculating what returns you have got. While what is your objective? Your objective is to put your investment in avenues where you get better returns. And therefore, you are looking at information in the future. Right? All this is past information. This past information is to understand, but may not be of 100% help when you are looking for your returns in future. Right? So this is a limitation. I thought I'll just mention that also after all this discussion. Yes, anybody has anything? Otherwise, we stop for today, and then we'll have our next class on Monday. वैसे आप लोगों की कल भी क्लास है, लेकिन जनरली आप लोग कहीं ना कहीं प्रोफेशनल कोर्स की वजह से बिजी होते हैं, तो फिर सैटरडे मैंने पिछले सेमेस्टर में भी देखा है कि आप लोगों की क्लास होती नहीं है. That's why he said Monday. Is that fine?
Yes.